Hi guys, welcome back to my podcast, Ankura. This is my third episode, and today I am joined with David.
Hi guys. Okay.
I'll let you introduce yourself.
Cool. So yeah, my name's David. I am a journalist, a professionalized. I'm a writer too. I'm a song god. Can't forget that one. Um, I love doing creative stuff. And I call myself a storyteller. And I love to tell stories just in all different areas of my life. Um, yeah, I'll stop. I sound like a lot. We'll stop there. I'm also Nah, I'll stop there.
A host.
I'll stop there.
A host, a
Oh,
presenter.
I am a
Got that
host,
one?
a host and presenter slash MC. So
Yeah.
trying to go into weddings this year.
Really?
So yeah. So if people are a lot of damsels in distress in the kingdom, in the church, looking to get married soon. I also host also in church as well. I'm privileged to be like a speaker of the youth leadership team.
Oh, nice. How long have you been doing that for? Leadership, church leadership.
Couple of years now. Yeah, maybe 2 years, I'd say. Yeah, have a big focus on with the young guys, especially that if I have a burden for them. Like we're just trying to grow them in the way they look. So yeah, but that sounds like a lot actually.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. You're doing a lot. I'm happy to hear that. Out of all of those things that you're doing, which one do you say that you're pouring the most into?
Right now, very recently, I would say is with the so at church as a youth leader, because we're in the process of starting the guys fellowship, um, which is I guess I'm not say I'm leading, but
You're leading.
I'm leading.
Leading.
Yeah, I'm leading. Yes, I'm leading that. So yeah, it's just a lot of having to just pray into it, having to plan as well, having to take active steps. We did a recent in person when was around the Valentine, so it was around the topic of love. But it was more so because the average age I'd say of the guys are around 16, 17. So it's more so because marriage isn't like very imminent for them,
Yeah.
still some way in the future, but it's trying to give them the revelation that oh yeah, you need to start. It's not bad to start thinking about it now, but think about it in the right way. So work on becoming the person before even looking for any type of person. Work on discovering your purpose in life before going to disturb on a God status.
That's good. That's good. I wanna kind of go into your sports journalism a little bit.
Yeah.
I want you to kind of explain how you even got there because I was going through. I like I'm stalking you, and how I'll let you explain it really. But how did you get there?
What were you going through?
Just like your
Okay, yeah. Sports journalism. Damn. So, it's better to just give the context. So I graduated from university, Manchester, 2023. Then um, went into accounting as a grad job at Deloitte. But quickly found out that wasn't my pathway at all. You had to do exams as well, but unfortunately I didn't pass exams. But fortunately at the same time, because it kind of aligned me to where I believe God is calling me to go into. So I kind of left Deloitte at the start of January 2024, and then I was by God's grace and FSC, this was God's doing. I got to do a bursary. I got a scholarship to study kind of a journalism, the course that you only need to do to get to journalism. So I got to study that course free of charge. That's the whole testimony in itself, like because the course is worth over 5,000,
Wow.
5,000, and I got to do that free of charge. So, and then just after that, after that, the course finished in July 2024. Just kind of been on the lookout for opportunities within the industry. It's been tough. The job market is dark,
Yeah.
to say the least. But I've been able to do things like freelance. Been able to do to run a different publication, even on the sports desk, or different national publication. Even this week, actually, had a work experience, um, at the Mail, on the sports desk. So just seeing where everything is heading
Yeah.
is honestly the journey of faith, but is one that I resisted for a while,
Yeah.
because I think I'm personally like lacks stability.
Yeah.
Like that, no idea, and I found that in money,
Mm.
in the salary. Before I graduated, I even did a placement year at a bank. I was at one of those guys that were proactive about becoming a finance pro. The positive, all that stuff, positive lifestyle. I was that guy, and that's what I thought I was colliding against. But it's taken me a while to kind of like unlearn that mentality of um your number one source of like the stability isn't your finances. Why is God at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of like my journey to sports journalism. It's an ongoing one, but it's one I'm learning to live in the moment. Um, I'm learning not to despise my school beginnings, but that's something that I've had to definitely learn, because at times I've been like, oh, this actually is beneath me.
Yeah.
Just to it's out.
Wow.
So I'm going to
Yeah.
to think. But then of course that switches, um, if God can trust you with a little, He will trust you with more and more. Um, but yes, it's a journey that's still ongoing. I don't know where exactly it's headed. I feel like I have more clarity as I've done more opportunities, as I've had more opportunity, that I've tried different things. I feel like through that I found more clarity as to where exactly I'm headed.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to start my career. Is a journey every day, but it's one that I'm learning to enjoy and live in. More. I feel like I'm sulking,
It's fine.
but yeah, I live in more, because there was a time where I was looking back on my year. I was in the 24-hour prayer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that might sound legalistic, but the 24-hour prayer. I was there, and then I don't know, something just came upon me, like it was a thought that stepped up my ears, like, oh, the year 2024 was a failure.
Really?
That's what thought that came to mind, because in my head I just decided I'm not where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
But then that's
Wait, so this is the thought that you had, or is it
yeah,
the
I
thought
thought
that you
I had
Okay.
that. This kind of like came so random, was during prayer, like, and times, but it's like it was 2 a.m. on prayer, and just struggling to even stay awake.
Yeah.
And yeah, that thought came, and actually it hit me, like, because I started to like um internalize before,
Yeah.
and actually believe that, yeah. But then I spoke to people, which I also, it was important to have people you can speak to, and I realized that I was setting the time, like, sorry, that's why I saw it as a failure, because I'm going based off my going based off my timeline, and I'm even just verifying myself with scripture as well, and trying to see what scripture says and actually act in the way scripture tells me to act. So one of my favorite parts of like scriptures, like Psalm 42, where that David speaking, and he says, why are you cast down on my soul? So it's like it's kind of speaking, he's kind of like speaking to himself, like to his soul, like, why are you cast down on my soul? And he repeats that statement as well, and that's something that I think is a good way to kind of counteract the instead of like listening to yourself, to kind of speak in truth to yourself. Um, so yeah, that was a bit of a tangent, but yeah, it's been a journey. It's going. I suppose.
For sharing.
See where it
It's
leads.
super sharing. Would you say you still have thoughts like that? Like where you are now is just not where you're supposed to be.
I'm where I am now is not where I'm supposed to be. No, actually, I wouldn't say so. Or I'll say a lot less, a lot less. Um, there's still times where I can feel discouraged. Um, so even just to compare, so at the start of the year when I did a work experience place, but uh, um, like a big national paper. The week after, I just felt like when I was doing work experience, I was like, yeah, this is me. Like I'm loving this experience. But the week after, I was like, because I didn't have the same experience. I didn't have anything like lined up work wise. I was like, oh, what is this? Is this like I'm just like that's square one. But now, obviously, now I just finished a placement now, another like big corporation. But I've and I think it's important for us, even as Christians, to be aware of or to anticipate what's ahead, and that because that allows you to actually defend certain thoughts that can come up. So now I know next week has come ahead. I'm gonna be more prepared. I know the thoughts that can come to mind, and I know that not to believe in those thoughts that come to mind. So even like now, I'm just learning to understand that yeah, this is a journey of just this journey of faith. That even though it might not look maybe if I compare to which is a bad thing to do, but if I start like comparing to other people, it might look like I'm not where I need to be. Um, but obviously walk by faith and not by sight. And that's something I've had to learn. That the best place to be is in the will of God. So who am I to say if I believe this is where God is calling to you? Who am I to say, oh God, this is what's like what's like going on? This is the journey. And I know and I really resonate with Joseph. Is it Joseph? Yeah, Joseph in Old Testament Joseph. His journey wasn't that linear or wasn't linear at all. And I think that's the journey that kind of glorifies God. Because if you just have that straight straight journey that where like where does God get the glory in that? So in my journey, um I can see God's hands like just in a different place, but seeing God's hand. And because he's done it before, I know that he can do it again. Because he provided with the it's called the NCTJ, the qualification. I know that he can do it again. So who am I that if he's done it before, who am I to even doubt and worry about him doing it again, about being in the wrong place, as well as serving or like being faithful to what he's called to be. Yeah.
That's true, and I agree with what you said because everything is the process. Like before you get to the top, for example, before you get to like the biggest, I don't know, company within anything that you're doing, you have to be able to sustain the little first.
Yeah.
So God even giving you this, I guess, smaller opportunities, are you able to do it with excellence now? Are you able to manage all the tasks, all the workload that they're giving you? Because if you can't do that now, then when you get to a place where you're really having more opportunities, where the jobs are more consistent, are you going to be able to put in the same amount of work? Are you going to be able to put in the same amount of excellence? But I agree, it can be quite, it's hard not to look at other people, especially with media and everything. Everything is right in front of your face and you're seeing them, they're doing their thing. It was like, I want to be in that position as well.
Yeah.
But then you have to kind of, I think it's just all about changing the perspective, really.
Yeah.
Because the way God is seeing your position where you are now in his eyes is, I guess, a success because you're being obedient.
Yeah.
So I think as long as you're remaining obedient in what you're doing, regardless of where you are, I guess the numbers or how big the company is that you're working in, as long as it is considered a success to the Lord, is the main thing. But can be hard sometimes.
No, yeah, it's it can be so hard because you see people who are doing things and subconsciously to yourself, but like, I could easily do this. Like I could actually, but these people are in said places for whatever reason, or even like people you know, um, or people you know get the job that you also apply to.
Yeah.
And then you see their announcement on LinkedIn. So happy to announce I'm so happy for you too. I'm joking. But yeah, so like stuff like that. That's why it's so important to like just run your race and not and yeah comparison actually so but it's so yeah it's a thief for joy. Yeah. It's as the common saying is, but it literally is because it can, and you're talking about perspective.
Yeah.
It ruins your perspective, which is why it's even so important to have people around you that can change perspective. I know I have a mentor who it gives me that perspective because at times I can be harsh on myself, which I'm trying to work on. I've had that feedback since secondary school.
Really?
Yeah, but David.
You're too hard on yourself.
Yeah. But David that's just like the lad. I think there's too partial or stuff like that.
Why do you think you're so much yourself?
I don't think I'm so harsh on myself. I think I still have a. Wait, can I see this? I still have a bone of legalism that I'm still trying to get rid of. If that makes sense in the sense of um I know that my ultimate value comes from God, from reading the scriptures or some of the scriptures, but there's still a difference between the head knowledge and the heart knowledge. So and yeah, that pressure to perform comes from like the legalistic mindset because um you feel as if like your value kind of comes from what you do. But if as we know as children of God, um as Christians, all our ultimate value lies in Christ. It lies in the sacrifice. Um, so yeah, I definitely had that whole thing of like trying to prove my worth through my work. Um, but it's I'm doing it more and more every day. Just by understanding that um the only person that's worth kind of pleasing has already accepted me, and through that revelation, I can now like just walk with more freedom.
Yeah.
And I think I posted something on my story yesterday actually on Instagram. I was in the park. Um, Side story. I was in the park. Um, um, this was before I started work on my internship. So I was in the park. I was just I wanted to do a Bible reading from the park. Um, and then I don't know, just over this past week, I've been thinking about. I watched the sermon. Been thinking about how like is going fasting, and how the different approaches to fasting, how our fasting actually could be. I think we should fast. But in the sense that fasting should be a response as opposed to like a rule to face. A response to who God is, what He's done for us. When we do things from a place of response, as opposed to, oh, I'm doing this because it makes me feel better, feel worse, feel a better Christian. When we do for something from a place of response, I think that's what's actually more kind of sustainable and less in your willpower. Because for me, I thought as just looking back on my life, I've been trying to like maybe do stuff in my willpower, trying to attain or like subconsciously I look down on others if I tell myself, well, I know more than this person, so it just puts you to a place of maybe you say like in the prideful place. Um, so yeah, just learning to do things out of response. Because that's for me that's the more genuine thing as well. So yeah, I've had definitely battling. I've been battling that whole um just try the pressure thing on myself, and just learning to just get operating with more grace. I'm more grace of myself and celebrate. Celebrate. Yeah, but that's actually a big thing as well. Celebrating the small wins, or what, or I don't want to call it. I don't even want to call it small wins. We don't mind to call it. We don't mind to call it small wins.
It can be a lot easier to celebrate other people
Oh yeah,
than yourself.
that's something that I can. Maybe I can definitely fall into. But recently, I've been trying to I have like more of like an attitude or gratitude. Like I'm just being more thankful for how far God has taken me. Like like recently, like we talked to my boys. We went. I said, let's celebrate our. Let's just actually go out to eat. So you had happy luck,
You know what?
happy luck.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I've never had it
yeah.
before though.
How you change your life.
Really,
Yeah,
I've heard good things.
you change your life. So yeah, we just literally just went out to eat, just to that's just like a physical demonstration of our faithfulness to what God is doing. Because yeah, something like yes, I can always struggle to celebrate because even going to the sports journalism thing, um, I'm like, and this was robbing me of my joy in the sense of I'm looking I'm looking to where I want to get to,
Yeah.
as opposed to kind of living in the moment, as opposed to enjoying what God has for me now, and that was kind of robbing me of my joy. So now, even and that also goes back to the whole needing to control the narrative, or if I'm not in control, I feel like damn, is this the what's going on? But definitely learn more just to operate. Oh, I'm learning more just to operate in faith, just to continue in faith, because it's actually buddy. I was actually thinking about this earlier in the sense of um faith is actually the safest place to be. Operating in faith is actually the safest place to be, as opposed to what you can think of control being the safest place, while our control being the safest place to be. Walking in faith is actually the safest place to be, because that's where because walking in faith is where God wants you to be, and I'd rather be I'm I'm safer in God's hands than in my enemies. Yeah.
That's good. And I think when you have an idea of something that you want to do, like with your sports journalism, you said it was something that was always on your heart. When you're doing it, you always kind of want the end goal
Yeah.
immediately. But how do you, I guess, slow down? How do you force yourself to slow down? Because it's when you slow down, that's kind of when I think the Lord speaks more, where He actually takes charge of your stead, because then you're not running ahead. So how do you ensure that you're doing that?
Yeah. This is any tips? You have any tips for me? But no, it's a good question. I recently read The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, and one of the um topics that's written about in the book is about the ideal Sabbath. I'm about to say Sabbath. I'm about to say the actual I think they say Shabbat or something like that. But Sabbath, and that's something I've been consciously trying to implement, even though I'm still like fighting the urge to these things during like my designated days of rest, essentially. Um, so yeah, that's one thing I'm like trying to implement. Even like I'm not speaking to my boy the other day about it, but I told him yeah, even I tried to do like a fake, like not fake, cause I'm still like, oh, I need to do this and that. Um, it's news that I don't necessarily implement in the way I should. Um, so I can say, oh, after church on a Sunday, this will be my Sabbath technically. But then is that really a true day of Sabbath if you're still out in church? If there's no working with the youth, for example, if you're still doing stuff with the choir, is that really like it's as how a designated day? So I'm still working on that. But one thing I do make sure is my personal devotion with God. Because that's the most important. That's the most important aspect that you can serve, you can you can could be involved in the XYZ, you can be working towards XYZ. But for me, that's kind of like the most important. And the thing that I try to that time with God is what I try to keep shaping on a daily basis, and that's where I can actually just slow down. How much of that is even important because in my and I think that's one thing I've had to learn in Croatian period of life where I don't have that consistent or that 9 to 5 work.
Yeah.
I actually have more time to spend
Yeah.
with God, to not rush in time of prayer, because I know I've been in the past, yeah, let me get this, yeah, let me rush this time of prayer. And one thing I've even learned along the way of spending like intentional time with God is that quality time is actually found in quantity time. So it's like you can, I don't think it's right to say I'm gonna spend 20 minutes of quality time. I feel like the quality time just it comes from that just constantly being there. And
Consistency.
yeah, exactly, consistency. There'll be times or times of quality in that quantity. So yeah, that's how I try to slow down. But I'm still, it's a learning process. Still, if you want any tips.
To slow down. Do I have any tips? I would say one thing is not having a set plan for everything. I think to an extent it's always important to have a plan, to know what it is, I guess, what you're doing or kind of where you want to go, but not having every step out for you, for yourself, because then that doesn't leave any room for the Lord to move, because plans always changing, God's always changing plans and everything. But when you plan everything from the beginning right to the end, then if it doesn't go right or it doesn't follow a specific step, then in your mind it's gone wrong. But in the Lord, it's like, I never told you that was actually part of the plan. So I think just not having a full structure for anything, I guess, but that's part of, like what you said, like not having full control of everything means you need to allow less structure for the Lord to move. I think.
That's it, yeah. I think, yeah, one thing that I've got been revealing to me, like just over time, is the whole idea of like resting, in the sense of it'll be easier to practice Sabbath, will be easier to slow down if I rest from keep the perception done. So if I actually find rest in the Hugo, cannot you get to our say before. If I actually find rest in who God calls me to be, or who God says I am as his son, if I know that I am actually accepted and I have nothing to prove, so that anyone else will actually be easier for me to trust God, to trust that, hey, if I take this one day out, the one is still gonna operate, still gonna keep running. So yeah, that's what kind of I've been learning, and I've been like, practicing. When I can, I do try to practice Sabbath. Yes.
That's good. This is an interesting season you're in. No, very, very interesting season. But you mentioned earlier how you you were working in banking, finance, accounting.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was a lot. And sports journalism was on your heart, but there was a delay, like for you actually going into it. So my question is, how long was that delay for, and what was the thing that kind of finally pushed you to do what has been on your heart, what God has placed on your heart?
It's interesting. I'll definitely say is a story of God's mercy. Because I honestly think at that point where when I was at Deloitte, I would have probably just stayed and endured.
Yeah.
Because I was fired.
You're fired.
Oh, you didn't?
With that? How are you fired?
Oh.
You missed the whole part. I thought you quit.
Oh my days. No. I was fired. What? Because of exams. I didn't pass the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so.
Does that mean you're fired though? Like.
Oh, the way it works. The way it works. You have to pass exams to actually stay at the company.
You don't have like a second attempt?
I feel like you're exposing me. I did have a second attempt. But you know what happened? No, but basically, there was like 2 exams. I failed both the first time, and then I passed one the second time, but then obviously I failed the second time. But it was like interesting because at the time I already like kind of like clocked out. So I was applying for jobs whilst revising before exams.
So you weren't really taking
So I was
it
like,
seriously.
in my heart, I was like, yeah, this is it's just it's not what what I think I'm supposed to.
Yeah.
So wow, well, I don't have the desire for this at all. Um, so even like so even once I started the lawyer, I was actually just um applying to different places, and obviously there was, and it's so crazy the whole way it worked out, but um kind of like in so I was applying for maybe like a month or two. Just I had no idea. I was just at home. But one thing I did do was that I tried to, even though I knew I wanted to get into that industry, so I tried to create my own platform.
Okay.
So I think at the time it was like the African Cup of Nations. So I was like, let me just write and different like sports related articles, like think pieces, opinion pieces, report by match reports. Let me actually work on the skill, so that when like an opportunity comes, I'm like ready to take it. So yeah, then that I guess you could say I was like exercising my faith. So yeah, in that like season of delay, I was kind of like I was still trying to work on where I knew I wanted to be, which I think was looking back on it, that was actually thank God.
Yeah. Big fight.
Yeah, that's the thing that
Yeah.
in my there was the last meeting we do when before you do the company, um you have to meet with one of the partners, so under this a senior one of the most senior people in the company, that with my manager, HR, and I went in the meeting. I was like smiling, and it's so crazy. I was smiling like I was yeah, I was smiling, and they were even like they were even like looking. They went in the meeting because you know when you find someone, naturally you would expect like well, it was a sad situation. Yeah. So they were all like with their sad faces, but I was like I was smiling, and then they quickly realized, oh, maybe it was just good that you kind of realized early on that this path wasn't the path meant for you. So which is why I say is I definitely say is that it's God's mercy. Um, which is yeah, it's definitely God's mercy, but I've I could have still been like been enduring that. But I was kind of forced to look elsewhere. And when I was at Friday, I was forced to actually. I definitely say it will put me closer in a relationship with God, because it was like yeah, I actually already have got I already have got now. So maybe like that's why I really saw that God was my strong tower. Because I had to call upon him, and he just rely upon him in that season, and just try and walk in faith where I knew where I could.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you. And thank you for sharing. And you mentioned a little bit earlier how before you went into sports journalism properly,
Yeah.
I guess you had, even though there was delay, you had your time of preparation
Yeah.
as well. I think what I kind of want you to kind of explain a little bit is the importance of that preparation period, because I think when God lays something in your heart, regardless of what it is, it can be easy to just run ahead and do that thing straight away. But then there are some moments, there's some times where you have to prepare for it before you actually do that date. So then for people who have maybe something that they feel that God is leading them to do, and they feel as if they should just go and do it, how would you explain, I guess, the importance of preparing for the thing that God is asking you to steward?
Yeah. It's it's so interesting because I guess different people have different issues. For some people, they can over prepare
Mm.
for doing things, but for others, they can they can have a tendency to under prepare and just like run straight into it. I do resonate where Jesus says you have to kind of count the cost before you get into something. Or he said that he doesn't count the cost before you, and I'm paraphrasing, before you get started. So I think preparation is important. Um, I think it's important in the sense of I look at my life. If I had been given some opportunities, before say I was kind of like prepared, or before I was still in the little,
Yeah.
I would have probably messed up those big opportunities. So you never know what God is kind of keeping you from when you before you try to get into things. So it's I don't know, it's interesting. And it's yes, it's kind of tough. Um, but I'd say yeah, definitely prepare. So even build habits, build good habits. So like when I see for my life, I see this even this current season. I mean, I see as preparation for where God is kind of like taking me to. I know that I have to build certain good habits so that when the pressure gets tough, it's the same. Yeah, that's not the same, is it?
Pressure, yes.
That's all right. But anyway,
Stuff, I think.
time gets tough. But something like that. When you face pressured moments in the future, you've built these habits that in your season of preparation, so that you can, so that you can so you don't just fall off. For example, for example now in my life, I know that I need to build the habit of, or like I'm building the habit of like having to go to on a daily basis. That I have to spend time with him on a daily basis, so that when I do maybe get that full time employment, that's I don't fall off from that. I don't fall off from that side from that discipline that when I'm maybe more free. Um, so yeah, definitely it's definitely important to be prepared. It's important to have that seal of preparation, but it's also important to take take action. So I think when your question is for two, yeah, maybe there's two different answers
Okay.
regarding preparation.
I mean, it's finding the balance,
Yeah,
really, of preparing now.
yeah, because I also don't over prepare.
Yeah. How is it? Can you over prepare though? Like, what does that even look like?
It's even just psychologically. Um, you can over analyze things. You can not act in faith.
Yeah.
You can like be kind of governed by the spirit of fear. So that it stops you from just like stepping out and kind of doing what God has called you to be. I think one way I kind of like describe it is like what is your kind of arc. So when God gave Noah the instructions to build the ark, what's your arc? What's God calling you to kind of build? You might have all the instructions, or like maybe all its use. It might be, but you don't know. You might not know what the use will be maybe in the future. But what's your arc like? Because it's building this Instagram page or making the profile. Is it, I don't know, posting, I don't know, a video on TikTok, whatever you're called to do. Is it showing your work, sharing your thoughts, starting a podcast? What is your arc? So yeah, it's so easy to kind of like over analyze things, just to, but you have to walk by. I said before, walk by faith, not by sight. So we have to be carefully people. You are courageous or old
And take
or
action.
vicious.
Take action.
Take action and different stuff.
Yeah, it's scary, man.
But
It's
like I said before, it's scary, but it's the safest place to be, which sounds mad, because you have a tendency for self-preservation, for think, oh yeah, if I'm in control of everything, then I'll be cool, but we'll be ashamed if we only have one life to live. We'll be ashamed if we were governed by our fears, if we didn't fulfill what God's called us to fulfill. Would be a damn shame. So you say,
I agree. But I think that's a big thing into why people don't do what the Lord has asked them to do, and it's just fear,
yeah,
really. And I think it's quite hard to get over, like, the fear, because it's always gonna put you in a position where you're uncomfortable. And I guess even the fear of failure. Do you have that with your, like, what does failure even look like being a sports? Like, can you can't even fail a thing like that, can you?
Well, you can feel it.
Yeah, but so you interview the people, okay, right?
Yeah, so there's sports journalism, but there's different. I guess there's other things I do where that could maybe look more scary, for example. With the like with Friday, for example.
Yeah.
So outside of sports journalism, so with the writing, so with Deep in Full, which is my platform
Blog? Would you call
vlog.
it a blog?
It started that even that whole journey is crazy, and I learned so many things. I've been learning so many things, and for me, that's where I have to exercise my faith the most because it's like even when I'm deciding the topic, I and this kind of like comes with preparation. So you can even answer your question before. Um, Whenever I have an idea, I write it down. I have a list, I have a bank of like topics that maybe that I could potentially cover in the future. But when it comes down to actually deciding what I'm gonna write about, I still have to go to God. Like, God, what am I writing this? Am I writing this map sort of thing? What message? What message needs to be out there? Um, so I definitely like when my side as a blog. But
What's
I,
our name then? If it's on blog.
I'd say semantics is a blog
A platform.
yeah, it's still a blog, like yeah, it's definitely still a blog. But even like for me, I even which is like community is so important. I am limited where I thought it could be. So even like a small story, um, I even the way it started, I was like, let me just write this on my private Instagram. Let me just write a caption, a low caption. Oh, I think it was on my friends. It was my birthday, and it was about my friends, and also I loved it. About rest. So, so yeah, and so I did that first, and then that got quite a good like reaction. Um, then I think I wrote like a blog post. What was the blog post? It was. What's the blog post? It was I think it was why I stopped writing. It was titled why I stopped writing for maybe like a few years. Yeah, why I stopped writing for a few years. Because I knew I loved writing. Um, so yeah, it was titled why I stopped writing for a few years. But I just posted it to on my story.
Yeah.
But then my friend popped up was like, what are you doing? This is a post. It should be a post. So I was just like, well, let me just post it. Just like your community is so full. So I just like let me post it, and then the reaction that kind of got was like crazy.
Really?
Yeah, people that I don't even know are commenting. And that's not to say like I do it for the comments. For me, I've had this whole journey of even like my motives during this whole deeper for process habit to to fight maybe the bad motives with the good motives. Um, but yeah, just the reaction that got was crazy and kind of encouraged me, and it taught me that I can't limit, not to limit what God has put into you. Because even like the whole writing thing, I used to be even annoyed at God. Like, what is this? Is this my gift? Just to write? Like, what does like everyone writes as a school? Like, what do you mean that I'm good at writing?
Yeah.
What does that? What am I gonna do with this?
Myself.
Yeah, I used to like desire to have you know them.
The big
Yeah,
gifts.
the ones
loud
that everyone could see. Yeah, the loud
the loud
ones. Like, yeah, it's a good word. The loud gifts. But like, right? What do they mean, like writing? But then just along this whole journey of writing, the amount of people that have kind of reached out to me, um, have like been impacted. I'm fine with impacting one person, but the amount of people that have kind of just reached out to me, even like I'm not like a celebrity or anything like that, but even like in person, people that I don't even know, but I've read and like approach me, and they always find it weird when something like that happens. But it's like I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it out of just to get progress and you think I'm doing it because I feel like there's a need. So like the main idea of that deep in thought is just to it's to encourage and convict. Because I'm big on encouragement, but also big on like conviction too. So I've learned that God can do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask, think, or imagine. So it's been the whole journey of faith. But I'm learning that the best place to be is in that journey of faith, is taking those scary steps. And not trying to limit with our own limited human minds where things can go or what we have things can go. Um, so yeah, it's been a whole it's been and we're still on the journey.
When did you start Deep in Thought?
Do you know, I was looking at I think it'll be his 3-year anniversary soon.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I was like, I think in June.
That's so
Actually. Yeah. But there was a time I had to take a break. Because of what channel.
I started seeing it more recently.
Yeah. It's been around for it's had its different iterations. But there was a time I had to take a break. Like a lengthy break. Because of I was like with when I was learning, like spending time with God, I was getting into a place of how does this translate to content?
Okay.
So it's like for me it was like a dangerous place to be. And I didn't want my relationship with God to just be how can I turn this into content? So I just took this resolution to stop it for a period of time.
How old was that break?
I think it was I don't know exactly how long, but it was definitely like minimum of like 6 months.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's quite a break. What do you think coming back to doing this, to doing writing for Deeper Got again, what is it that you think, I guess, you've learned, or that maybe has made it, I don't know if the right word is better, but just the way you pour into it more is different?
Yeah. So learning from my mistakes before. So if I learn something, it's not sharing it. So it's basically not sharing everything I learned. Allowing things to or what I learn, revelations to impact me first before sharing. I don't want to be as Paul said, I don't want to be someone that just kind of shares and then me myself I'm not being affected by these big teachers or words. I don't want to be that person that just teaches and that I'm not affecting myself. So yeah, just kind of learning from my mistakes to false. And even just just trying to be more sensitive to what God is saying. So even and just be more intentional. So even when I really post on Instagram, with the sword selection that I use, that I confidence and pose on it will be kind of like a line. So it's a I love it's an exciting journey. It's an exciting journey. Faith.
Yes. And with the things that you do, so blogging, your sports journalism, and then writing, I guess the articles, you say, and then even hosting. What else did you mention?
My youth.
Your youth. Everything that you're doing, it's your speech, really.
Yeah.
You speaking over people, I guess, to people for your youth, for your journalism, your writing articles for people to read, and the same with your blogs. Like everything that you're doing, it all kind of interlinks. It's all through your words. So before, I guess, you even started using your words to this extent, what are the challenges that you face with your voice, using your speech, and I guess even believing in the words that you're actually saying to other people? What challenges were you experiencing, if you were?
Yeah. So I never actually liked my voice. Like growing up.
Yeah.
Which was I don't know if it's just normally just in my head. But I just never like maybe how my voice sounded or like you hear other people I don't know, the clarity that they have in their voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I was like, oh, but also just it's a comparison thing as well. I think it's something I've had to kind of like get over in the sense of um repeat this the last bit. Sure, but
Um, what are the challenges
yeah.
that you faced with using your voice, using your
Okay,
notes?
yes. Like reminds you of a story. I was the head boy of sixth form. And I had to give a speech. Yeah, I think I've written about this before. I had to give a speech. Just like encouraging. It was at another sixth form, encouraging people to come to our sixth form. Or another school. And yeah, that was a very to come to the sixth form. And that was like the worst speech of my life. The way I was like just stuttering, and it's so much irony linked. The way I was stuttering, the way I was sweating, um, armpits, everything I like. I had to. It's like after the speech, there was like a sense of shame because I was with the head girl, the deputy head girl, and the head of sixth form, both like in the same car on the way home. And I was it was quite a calm journey ever. But I realized because there was like going back to the pressure point, there's a pressure I put on myself to perform. I saw my value. I saw my value in my I saw my value in my performance in what I did. If I didn't give the speech well, I would have labeled myself a failure. Or even that there's been that negative self talk for um that I've experienced for a number of years just growing up, and that's like compounded. And so yeah, I've had to grow. I've grown up with that yeah, it's like that negative self talk. And I was watching a video the other day. I kind of explained the gravy, but in a sense of kind of taking God's glory or is on the pressure to perform. Um, in a sense of basically he's a preacher, and he was telling the story of another preacher. I'm a preacher. It's a preacher that does like miracles or like healings, for example. Yeah, there was like healings, and then the creature that's preaching. So this person is telling the story about you. Um, I'll call it the healing preacher. So the healing preacher, he heals. Some people get healed, some people don't get healed. So the person that's telling the story of the healing preacher, he's wondering how do you like not get embarrassed, but for example, or like not try and stay on the person that doesn't get healed, and then the person that's kind of like the healing preacher, his answer to that is that nothing. He doesn't do anything of his own power. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't take any of the glory. So in the same way that he doesn't take the glory, it's the same way he doesn't take the shame. And for me, that was like it was so profound in the sense of because I have that tendency to try and like take glory. Like yeah, if I had performed well in that speech, I would have like been puffed up in my chest. But because I'm trying to share with the glory, I'm also as a result of that I'm also trying to share with the shame. Or I don't want to, but as a result, I'm sharing the shame as well that comes with that, as opposed to just like fully like relying on God. And I think to answer your question is being relying more on God, seeing or like partnering with God with who God says that I am. That's allowed me to not have that not have that tendency to try and conform and that's that allow me to be more free of speaking. It's allowed if it's giving me more freedom. Not if I do mess up, I don't like beat myself over. When messing up, just give me more confidence to step out and God says that yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. I think it's just how like crazy, like interesting how the Lord will use the thing that you're insecure in the most, like how the thing that you're maybe scared to do the most is what actually God is actually calling you to. And like you said, it's because that way he's getting the glory in every single way. But it's always gonna be is hard because, like you said, using your voice, but everything you're doing right now is literally using your voice. And you went from a point of stuttering and you had shame to now it's something that you're doing consistency, and it's not by your own strength. It's literally by the Lord, and you can actually testify and glorify that the fact that you're here and you're using your voice now is not of you, it's not by you, it's only by the Lord because of where you came from. And I think that's also why the Lord does things like that, because it has a story. And even you saying all of this now, the reason why I asked this question is because I wanted it to be an encouragement to people that the thing that you know is on your heart to do, but you have insecurities about it. You have, I guess, you feel like you have weaknesses about it. Doesn't mean you can't be that area can't be used. It just has to be developed. But the only way for that to be developed is for you to actually start doing it, to actually start walking in it. So thank you for sharing that. I just really wanted someone or people just to be encouraged that when you're starting something, you're never going to start perfect.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a process where you go up. There's going to be some downwards and it's going to be ups.
Study that top or study Moses,
Yeah.
Jeremiah.
Yeah.
He was scared. That's what God called him to do. Yeah. So the very things he did. So yeah, I just the Bible is the main source, and today try to get encouragement from the Bible when you feel like you were scared to start. Look at how God has moved and trust that He God of yesterday, same God today.
Yeah, it's good. And how would you say that you do all these things that you're doing now? How has it blessed the people that is around you? I feel like it's quite broad because you're in so many different areas, but I guess which one stands out to you the most?
Stands out to me the most.
Yeah, like something, just you speaking, using your voice. How has it blessed people, do you think? How's it encouraged people? How are you seeing that what you're doing is actually having an impact?
Okay. Um, I did I did so I'll say writing, for example, comes to mind. I wrote a piece on the church, what called the church boy.
I read that one. Yeah, that was really good.
So cute, good.
That was really good.
Yeah, it was good. The church boy. Um, and yeah, essentially, it was kind of just explaining my experience of growing up in the church. Being in the church, but not belonging to Christ, like being involved in like different activities, but not necessarily having that relationship with Christ. And yeah, just the whole idea of on the key field I touched on that I think it resonated with a lot of people was that how there's actually two prodigal sons in a sense. Of we speak a lot about the prodigal son that was one that was wayward, but we don't speak on the other son. It was he remained that way, which is the church, but his heart was just as in a bad state as the guy that the son that was wayward. So the son that was wayward, he he had like he was bad because of his badness, but the one I said I heard he was bad because of his goodness, in a sense of he had like a moral understanding of things. He thought he deserved things because he was moral, but that's not the way things essentially work. And we as Christians or people that grew up in the church, we can maybe think that because we've been in the church for so number of years, um, a lot of people maybe think, oh yeah, that person's come, they've been in the church, that person, oh yeah, that's the typical Christian person, or you might be called, oh, that's a Christian boy, that's a Christian girl. But not knowing that we also there's a work that needs to be done to the same extent or even to even higher extent because it's so hidden. Maybe it's even there's a greater need there for Christian girls, Christian boys, those who grew up in church but didn't have a relationship to actually meeting Jesus. So yeah, I think that's a piece when I said I didn't expect the response to that as well. What people have actually messaged me individually, or individually private.
Yeah.
To say yeah, I really resonate with that case. I thank God for that response. Yeah,
Thank God.
yeah.
That's good. And is it just more recently where you realize or you notice that the work that you're putting out was getting, I guess, more attention? Is it going recently? Or has this been just a thing?
Obviously, I've been like that.
Yeah.
But to be fair, like, that's the thing. My first ever piece. That's one where I was speaking about where I stopped writing. I think where I stopped writing. Why I stopped writing, and I just gave a story on because I added a bit of humor in there. But I gave a story on receiving my GCSE results, something like that, and how like your worth isn't in your results. I think that was the first place actually. I can't even remember what it is. But so that was kind of like a big response in for head itself where um when like like people I don't know or like really commenting what they see as getting impacted. Um so yeah, I think it's been here like different times, it's been different like, responses. But it's like even important not to let things up or I've like not let things get to my head. Um in the sense of like, oh, I'm tracking how many people liked it or tracking tracking the comments. Was a cool to feel, oh yeah, I did. It's easy to alter the page. Oh yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
Or yeah, it's so easy to fall onto that place. And I had to like just get advice on how do you be as focused on that number, seeing that people subscribing to the blog, but like you're just tracking that because you could just be so consumed by that. Um, but yes.
How do you fix on that though? Like the numbers?
Um, it's kind of linked to what I said before, but it's being content with um if the it's in the sense of being content with the fact that I'm not doing this to kind of get plaudits. I'm not doing this to please others. If like I can do this for free. I'm not doing it to get money on it you going. If one person is impacted, I'm fine with that. Even if no person impacted, I'll still rap because I feel this is what I've been called to do. So even if I don't see things in the short line, but I feel like I've been called to do. Um, and kind of nice. Even instruction not to that course says not to neglect your neglect your gift or give yourself free to your gift. So I'd say that definitely just undo that way of thinking because if you get so engrossed in it, like you're just not doing it. You're just doing it because of you know you're gonna get a certain amount of likes.
Yeah.
So you used to fall into that. I've had to like I have to continue to tell myself, no, you're doing it. There's a silver audience of one, which is
No dots. That's good. That's really good. I'm glad it's impacted people. That's the most important thing. How would you say um being obedient, doing all these things that you're doing, what is it, sorry, revealed to you about yourself? Because as much as what we do is for other people, a lot of it builds our character. Yes. So what would you say you have learned about yourself, I guess, in this journey?
I haven't always been consistent with like posting or the way I want to post or with the frequency I want to post with. So it's actually it's crazy. It showed me how flawed I am. It showed me like I think it continued bringing me to a place of repentance, like having to change this thing, having to change another thing, having to change my thought process, having to change my motives. Um, yeah, that is. Yeah, I thought that's how I want to answer that question to you. Very nice. So yeah, it's revealed a lot. Uh, with me, it's revealed that I hide some
Yeah.
it's revealed why I really put my trust and my own guilt. And and in that way, you could even say it's like a process of sanctification. Because when I learn these things, I now know what I need to, and accepts that this is me. I can now actually go more towards getting molded into the image of Christ. And that should genuinely stress.
It's good. It's good. Thank you. Thank you. I actually feel like we were into most of the things I wanted to discuss. But before we end, is there anything that you would say to anyone, like any creator or anyone who has something on their heart that they want to start doing but they don't know how or they're scared? How would you encourage someone?
Or high encourage some.
Mm.
If okay, if you if you had the cure for cancer, would you keep it to yourself? The reason I say that is because not saying what you're creating is gonna cure cancer,
Yeah.
but with where a lot of stuff that we are going to create is to impact other people.
Mm.
So if you know what you can do, have the ability and the potential, especially if God is going to do it. If you know it has the ability to, I don't know, encourage people to um to help people that capacities in life. Um, would you, if you were advising your friend, for example, like would you tell them to keep it to themselves? So if you have the cure to cancer, would you keep it to yourself?
That's good encouragement. Interesting perspective. But I think that is actually all. Thank you so much, David, for joining today. And to anyone watching, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you in the next episode.
See you guys.